Smith strip with Pacific Rim fall protection. The reason we're doing this today is so that everybody has an idea of how to use the systems that have been installed up on the roof. The reason there's systems on the roof is because whoever is maintaining the living roof that's up there is going to be falling under general industry. So we're looking at a 4-foot fall rule. So anybody over 4 feet, it's got to be tied off. When you're on the roof, you're about 12, 14 feet, give or take, which requires you to be tied off and you're within 6 feet of that edge. The living roof, if you're at any point in that growing area, you're pretty much within that 6-foot edge of the roof. So if you're weeding up there or maintaining the living roof part of it, you're obviously going to have to be tied off from the time you get up on the roof from the ladder. And I think the access point's going to be back here in the corner, if I'm correct, Toby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So as soon as you get up there, you're basically going to have to tie off immediately. The cable does run down the length of each side of the solar panels that are up there. So you got a cable on the back side here, a cable on the front, and then there's a 90-degree that comes down to this corner that you're going to use for accessing this front of the building. Everybody here has worn a harness or not?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
I've worn like zip line harnesses.
Okay, a little different.
Yeah.
You've worn a harness before?
Yeah.
Good. So I'm going to pick on Ozzy and you. What's the first thing you're going to do before you put on your harness?
Inspect the harness.
I'm going to actually knock that down to number 2, Ozzy. Oh, and for the reason being, I want you to empty your pockets first. Make sure you don't have any sharp objects, keys, pens, pencils, knives, anything like that in your pockets. The reason being that if you fall, you've got straps around your legs, and the force is coming up, whether you like it or not, and it's coming up with a lot of force. So you don't care to be penetrated in a place that wouldn't normally. Yeah. So number 1, please just empty your pockets. Make sure you don't have all that any sharp objects like that in your pockets. Number 2, like Ozzy said, is inspect the harness. Always start with your metal components on the harness. We're here in the Bay Area, so what is in this environment? A lot of salt water, mist, fog, all that stuff, which is really hard on metal components. So start with your metal components on the harness, your D-ring. Make sure there's no rust, cracks, deformations, burrs, anything like that. What I do is I always rub my finger around the inside. You can do a visual, but if you rub your finger along, you're going to find any kind of cracks or anything like that a little easier than just by looking at it. So make sure, like I say, no rust, cracks, burrs, deformation in the back D-ring. On these harnesses, the back D-ring is an impact indicator. So this D-ring stands up. It also makes it easier to make your attachment on your back. But in the event that somebody's had an impact in this harness, this D-ring is no longer going to stand straight up. It's going to be laying down, and inside here you'll see a red tab. That would indicate the harness has been impacted, needs to be taken out of service. Harnesses are good for one fall only. The rest of the equipment, these are retractables, so it's pretty much everything is good for the one fall. The systems can be inspected. If within the systems up there in this post, which I'll show you, there's shock absorbers in these posts too. So if they're impacted to a fall, good chance they're going to be visibly impacted. The posts come off at the bases, so easily replaced, but it would have to be inspected upon an accident like that. So, all right, so you've checked your D-ring. Move down to all your connections. Like I say, the metal parts is probably the easiest thing to start with. Just making sure, again, no cracks, spurs, rust. Big thing here. Once you've checked all your metal parts, start looking at your webbing. I would start at the shoulders, checking the webbing, making sure there's no nicks or anything like that. The side of the webbing, tears, if you're welding, I don't think that's going to be out here, but any kind of welding slag or anything like that in a harness would obviously cause that harness to possibly fail in the event of a fall. So a nick in the side of this webbing reduces the strength of the webbing by 75%. So this harness is designed to arrest your fall. If that's been reduced by 75%, good chance in the event that you are going to rely upon this, it's not going to be there for you. So making sure all your webbing looks good, just run your hands down.
So any knit at all? Because I used to change my hands a lot, and so you get a little tear.
Yeah, I would say, especially you can see the stitching along that side. If you've got into that, then you're,
Yeah.
time to look at get the new harness. You know, and the cost of the harness is so minimal, and it is so intricate to the system that's on the roof. This is the main component of anything that you're going to be tying off to. It doesn't matter how good the system is up on there. If you're not wearing a proper harness that's going to do what it's supposed to do, then that system does you absolutely no good. So making sure the harness is in good shape. Again, like I say, just making sure if you see stitching, pieces of that stitching coming out all over the place, probably something going wrong there. So pay attention, just kind of the stitching. Down. So on the other side. And these are brand new harnesses, but I'm still going to check it just to make sure that it came out of the manufacturing facility looking correct. So these little fold over parts, those are also impact indicators, just so you know. Okay. That's good. So on the leg straps on this particular harness, it's the grommets. Make sure all the grommets are there, okay? Make sure that none of them have come out or anything like that, that they're not rusted out, okay? Any kind of rust on those would obviously be a problem too. Grommets are good, check the back side.
Is there anything that says, my guys have used these harnesses with the grommet
Yep.
around the leg.
Yep.
To have all this extra belt material hanging.
Yep.
Can you cut that off?
Nope.
I haven't filmed it.
Yeah, no, there's the strap keepers, so you just kind of have to roll it up and keep it.
Okay.
Yeah, because you don't. I know you don't want it down around your feet and tripping you up all day and stuff like that. But you can't just cut off the leftover part. So
Okay.
that would be against the manufacturer's recommendations. So,
Why is
anyways,
that? If it's an individual assigned to a specific person, why? I mean, you don't need all this extra. Why wouldn't you be able to cut it off?
well, I
Because
think
you're not going to use that.
It might void the warranty, so no matter what
it's
happens.
got that's what's keeping it from fraying. So I mean, you start cutting this up here. How are you going to prevent the rest of that harness from fraying apart?
Yeah.
That's what, that protector's right there to keep that, and that's sewn on there so that it doesn't fray. So if you cut that off, yeah, you're going to
Yeah, I
start.
can see that. Yeah.
If the harness doesn't fit, if that's the problem, you might have to go to a smaller harness. This is a universal fit harness, so this should fit anybody from small to large. Obviously, if somebody's a bigger fella, he might have to, they're extra small and then there's extra large in addition to the universals. So you might have to look at one of the other sizes if the straps are way too big for you. All right, so to put on the harness now, it's just like a vest. So you throw one arm in, throw the other arm over. It's probably easier without my jacket. One second here. There. Get that sitting on your shoulders. Make sure none of the straps are all twisted up. Make sure the D-rings center your back, okay? First thing to do, stand with your legs about shoulder width apart, knees slightly bent, and always start with your legs first. Grab your first strap, making sure it's not twisted. You feed that through the thing, make a connection. Your second leg. And I'm leaving this a little loose right now. I'll kind of size it up here in a second. What you're looking for on the leg straps is to be able to kind of slide 2 fingers sideways, okay, or your hand flat. Any looser, I come on sites all the time, guys are wearing these straps down around their knees. In the event of a fall, you know where those straps are going? Right there. So they're coming up with a lot of force to an area that's going to hurt. So if you start with the straps already there, they're not coming as far. So not hitting that area with as much force. There's still a lot of force, but as long as you're wearing those harnesses properly, you're going to reduce the chance of serious injuries. So, make that a little tighter, same as this one. What I don't want is you guys cutting your circulation off either. But yeah, making sure that you're nice and snug in that harness. The other problem is too, some of these harnesses, it's not so bad on this one, it's got a pretty good square back on it. But if these straps are way loose, there is a chance that when this thing comes up over your head, you could actually rotate out of the back of the harness because of that opening. Because the harness is going to, this D-ring in the event of a fall is going to be up about here. So the straps, your leg straps are what's keeping you in this harness, which is why it's so important to wear those properly. So any kind of leftover like this, what I do is I just fold that back, tuck that in, and that's pretty much out of your way. Now, next, you got some vertical adjusters, but I think what I'll do first is probably my chest here. I'm going to slide these down. These are your lanyard keepers, so if you had a 6-foot lanyard or something like that, in fact, you could use it with the rope grab, I guess. This could be attached to your back. You know what? It's not going to do this. But if you were wearing a 6-foot lanyard or something like that, if you were walking around and you weren't tying anything, that's where you clip. That's all these are for. Yeah, just keep it from dragging on the ground. Make a chest connection. What you want here is this strap to be right about your nipple height, okay? So just right underneath your nipple here, and then plug that in, pull that tight. When it's worn properly, the vertical straps here get come in slightly, okay? So it's like a little V here. That would be proper fit right there. I don't really have to make any more adjustments to that than where it's at. That strap's gonna hang. This, if you were shorter, or longer in the the midsection, torso, you can crank those up. Takes out some of the slack in the harness. Again, I'm pretty good where I'm at. To release it, so that be counterclockwise to tighten it. Pull it out, we'll release it. Okay, so it's just a nice little feature on the DBI harnesses to pick up some of the slack. Yeah, see, and I've got twisted strap. There we go. Alright, so now you got your harness on, and you could, no, actually I'm not even going to say that because only the people that would be servicing the solar panels could be in a 6-foot lanyard as opposed to on this backside of the roof. But if you guys are just in the living roof area, you need to be on the rope grab. So the rope grab's what you're going to be taking up there with you. It's got a double locking snap hook on the one end, rope grab on the other. Snap hook goes to your back D-ring on your harness. Make sure that's connected. And as part of your inspection too on this, double lock snap hook, thumb, forefinger to open it. Make sure that gate's not opening without releasing those locks. Okay, so double lock snap hook, forefinger, thumb on the back, or vice versa. Okay, so open that up. The shock absorber, if this has been impacted by a fall, it would be blown apart. It's got the shock absorption built into that, so that's your impact indicator there. Again, you're always checking the webbing, making sure there's no nicks or anything like that in there. And then your metal components. So this is just a visual before you guys use the equipment. So just make sure everything looks like it's in good working order. No parts are missing. This is your locking pin, so that's pretty critical. Make sure that's not missing. And again, I think this is aluminum, but it does have, this is stainless, but could be subjected to rust nonetheless, especially in the environment we're in. So rust in your snap hook, again, would be cause for having to replace the equipment. So, again, snap hook to your back D-ring, and if you have other D-rings, if you bring your own harness out here, only D-ring you can attach to is your back D-ring, okay, for a fall arrest situation. If you have other D-rings, like on my harness over here, I've got side D-rings, I've got chest D-rings, all sorts of D-rings, but they're all intended for other purposes, not for fall arrest. So let's make sure you're attaching this to your back D-ring. And then this is what you're going to take up on the roof with you, along with your rope lifeline, which, fairly simple. Again, double lock and snap hook on one end, it's open on the other, I just tie a knot in it. This is what you're going to connect to the lifeline, is this snap hook. On the lifeline, there's one trolley on each lifeline. Those trolleys are where you connect this to. You don't just put this onto the cable. Reason being is the cable will wear out the metal on the hook. And also the trolleys will let you travel through the intermediate supports that are up there without having to disconnect, reconnect, and do all that stuff. So it actually lets you walk the continuous length of the system without having to disconnect. So you can stay connected the whole time you're up there. So when you get up there, you'll see what I'm talking about. Snap hook to the trolley, and then your rope grab opens. Put that on there. Up.
I was gonna say there is a, there is a.
So yeah, there's the, probably easier to it's on the line to tell, but on the, there you go, if you want to hold that up for me, great. On the rope grab, it tells you which way is up. Okay, so up is towards your anchor. All right, so up would go, because that's where your cable is, up, lock it in place. And the way this works now is